would like to thank you for taking your time to attend this Composer webinar this morning. We'll be learning all about how SOLIDWORKS Composer can help your sales and marketing teams win more business. So Javelin Technologies is a Canadian company. We are a SOLIDWORKS reseller and 100% Canadian. We have offices all the way from Vancouver, BC to Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. So there's about 100 people on our team, and we've been founded in '97. So we are actually celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. A little bit about me. My name is Vicki. I've been an application expert with Javelin for about 3 years now, and I've been using SOLIDWORKS and all of their other solutions for about 10 years now. So my main experiences have been designing while doing machine design and steel structures. So Javelin is more than just another authorized SOLIDWORKS reseller. We actually introduce our products and services. So we do training, we take care of your people, we take care of your technology, and we have processes that we've actually broke down into 4 stages of your product development lifecycle. So people, technology, process, and manufacturing. So we don't just sell you a software, we actually walk you through and make sure that you're successful with it. So let's get started with why your sales and marketing teams need SOLIDWORKS Composer. So a little bit about the agenda that we'll cover today. We're going to start by talking about what is Composer and how technical documentation is currently being done in the industry. Then we're going to go into a quick live demo. So I'll be showing you how Composer works. Then after that, we'll talk a little bit about how it can be used to compete for winning more business. And then we're going to have a quick Q&A session. So what is SOLIDWORKS Composer? So if any of you have never heard about SOLIDWORKS Composer and are brand new to it, it's an authoring tool for creating both 2D and 3D graphical content. So it is an authoring tool that will generate very, very high quality illustrations, and it repurposes your existing 3D CAD data. So you don't have to wait for the product to actually be manufactured to take pictures. You can actually start your technical documentation process much, much earlier in your product development process. So what can Composer be used for? These are just a small fraction of what Composer can be used for. Assembly instructions, training manuals, marketing materials, parts catalog, even online parts catalogs, and service manuals. So why would you want to use a product like Composer? Well, it will add a new dimension to your product as communications. You can actually create animation with your product to see how things are assembled or disassembled. It creates really high quality raster images and vector line arts, which is actually really quickly created inside of Composer. With all of this, it will help your customers and or shop floor or partners to understand what you're trying to communicate to them. So let's talk a little bit about the typical product life cycle, how people are currently doing things. So from the answers that I saw in the poll, you guys will probably see yourself in this. So a typical product life cycle starts from concept. So we have a nice idea, then we bring it to our design and engineering teams, which will work on the concept, create all the manufacturing drawings, and then send those to manufacturing for the product to actually be manufactured. Now, at that state, then the marketing teams and technical documentation teams can actually start their work because they have something to work with, right? They have an actual part, or they've seen how things are being done to manufacture that part, so they can start their work here. And then lastly, or finally, they can deliver the product to market. Now, whenever there's a design change, all this process needs to be redone and then delivered to market again. So it's really a linear process that is not super efficient, right? Because each team has to wait for the others to be completed with their work. What Composer can do, SOLIDWORKS Composer, is that we can shrink that process. We can have all our teams working at the same time. So we can have our marketing teams, design and engineering, and tech doc teams work at the same time. And if there's design changes with Composer, we can automatically update all the images in our technical documentation, which I'll be showing you later. So with that being said, you'll be bringing your products to manufacturing much, much quicker and make your money much quicker. So how technical documentation is currently being done in there, just show you just a quick recap of what we just said. We start with the product design. When that whole process is completed, people do image captures, then maybe use a product like Photoshop to do modifications to those images or add text and arrows. Then do arrangements with all those images, so putting them in Word or any type of publisher and adding the text around it. And then finally, the final outputs could be to save it as a PDF. So this is really a typical workflow for anyone who's been doing technical documentation. So as you can see, there's a lot of little tiny steps here, right? Creating designs, image capture, and then again, like I was saying, if ever there is a design change, you have to go through that loop all over again. Just too much work. So I'm going to show you a couple pictures just to make this a little bit more interactive. I'd like you to tell me what you see that's wrong with these pictures. If you want to type it in the chat box, I'm just curious to see what some of you will find wrong with those typical pictures. So if I was to give a few examples here, well, first of all, they're not really standardized images, right? They're pretty much all different. They're not very clean. For example, this one, you see a big hand pointing to a part. Doesn't look slick. Also, it's a little bit confusing. If we look at the top left one, there's just so much text on that picture, and the images are small. Just too much. This one I find there's just too much information on one view. So just confusing, too many details or lack of details for some of them. They were quite boring, right? Not captivating to the eyes and just inconsistent in sizes, shape, and format. So this is where Composer can help. It will generate really high quality images that are nice and crisp, so it's easy for you to understand what you're looking at. We can create interactive bill of materials, which means if we hover on a component, it will highlight its item in the bill of materials and vice versa. You can actually streamline what you want your end user to focus on, because you have full control over the views that you'll be creating inside of Composer. You can highlight components if that's what the component you want them to focus on at a certain state. And also standardization. It will help with standardization because you can build libraries of styles, or we can, as you probably know them, templates that you can have your teams work with. And also it reuses your existing CAD files. So you're sure to get the exact product that you should see on there and not an old revisions. A question that I thought I would answer right away: if Composer needs SOLIDWORKS to run, it is a SOLIDWORKS product, but no, it does not need SOLIDWORKS to run. It is a standalone application. Composer works with almost any CAD formats. You don't need to only work with SOLIDWORKS files, which is a great bonus. So if you're working with any purchase parts or parts that you've downloaded from, let's say, Trace Parts or McMaster-Carr, which are websites where you can download purchase parts, you don't need to worry about that. SOLIDWORKS can read those. And really anyone can use it because it's a standalone product. It doesn't work inside of the SOLIDWORKS interface. It has its own interface and it's super user friendly, which I'll be showing you in just a second. So really anyone can be using it. So who needs Composer? Yes, engineers and designers, either for communicating design to their shop floor, or help to reduce the number of detailed drawings that they need to create for manufacturing. Marketing and sales teams can really use Composer for marketing collateral, brochures, sales brochures, and really any other printed product information. It can actually be used as well for web content and product data sheets, right? If you need to provide those to your customers, this is where Composer can help. And lastly, technical documentation teams. Right? Anyone who needs to create those large packages of paper with everything you need to know about a certain product is usually done by the technical documentation teams. So I'll be showing you a couple of examples of Composer content, things that can be created with Composer, and then we're going to jump into the live demonstration. Okay, so just give me a quick second here. So what we see here is an example of an interactive parts list. So this is fully created with Composer, right? So we bring in our parts into Composer, which I'll show you in just a second. And then we pull things apart, add our balloons, insert our bill of materials, and this is the interactive parts list I was talking about. Now you can add hyperlinks to those files, right? If I select on one of the components, it will actually open its own drawing. Okay, so this is great for online parts lists. I'm just going to fire up SOLIDWORKS Composer and talk to you a little bit about its interface. So here it is. So the way it works, it's its own standalone application. So what we do is we import a CAD file. So I've got the home module rescue spreaders, which I'm sure you have seen before. They're very, very strong hydraulic spreaders that are used in car crashes and so on. So just to show you, this is my SOLIDWORKS environment, right? I have my SOLIDWORKS assembly here, and all I did is I've inserted it or imported it inside of my Composer application. So right from here, it's a 3D environment, just like you would see into your CAD environment. And what we do is that we generate views. If you look to this left of my screen, there's a couple of views that already have been created here for the purpose of this demonstration. What we'll do here is we're going to create our own view that we're then going to add to our Word file. And then we're going to mimic a design change and see how Composer handles that. So we'll just do that very quickly. So I've imported my CAD file here. I want to take a screenshot of this view, and I want to start pulling things apart. Now you'll see that these components are actually full of properties. If I hover my cursor over them, you'll notice that there's a little call out that pops up telling me or showing me the description of that part. So when you import files from from SOLIDWORKS, it will actually recognize and maintain all the metadata, so the custom properties are recognized inside of SOLIDWORKS Composer. So let's start to tear this thing apart. So I'll use my transform tool, and again, Composer is extremely user-friendly. It's all ribbon-based, so you'll see that you have all your tools split into different ribbons, so it's filtered for you. Very easy to find your tools. I'm just going to start to push this apart like that. I just want to represent how I would remove the components on a view. To remove the battery, sorry, there we go. I'll just select these screws here, zoom in maybe a little, and then I'm going to capture this view. So I'll go to my Views tab right here and generate a new view. So maybe I want to add arrows in here. So I'll come to my authoring tools here. This is where we can add anything from labels, callouts, maybe insert a bill of material. Here I want to insert an arrow and actually attach it to my existing geometry. Like that. Now, like I was saying earlier, we want our images to have a certain standardization across them. So the way Composer handles those is through what we call styles. So I'm just going to select my arrows, go to my Styles tab, and maybe add my whole outro style in here. Let's say I'm happy with my view. I'm simply going to refresh that view or update my view. And you'll notice that it will update it here. So once we've done this, really what we're doing is we're preparing for our illustration. So all of these views that you see here, if I transition between them, you'll notice that it smoothly transitions from a view to the other. So it's really locating where the components are in space and then adding their arrows. So as we're creating our views, we're actually preparing for an animation. Like this. So let's say I create these views. I'm just going to open up a Word file here and show you why we would create these views. So we create these views inside of Composer. Then we save those out to JPEGs, TIFFs, whatever format you want to be working with. And then we insert them into our Word file, type our text, and then save that maybe to a PDF like I was showing you earlier. So what we want to do here is actually add the overhead light and battery replacement image that we just created. So here we would go to our Insert tab and just insert the picture. Before I do that, I'm just going to save the images that I created. So if I went to my Workshop tab here, I want to export high resolution images. I could export a video if I wanted to make a video. And the great thing with Composer is that you have full control over every aspect of what you're exporting. So you have control over the resolution, alpha channel if you want a nice transparent background for your images. And then if I wanted to my multiple tab here, I would export all of these views to a location and then insert those inside my work file like that. Now before I do that, I just want to show you what would happen if ever we had a design change. As you can see here in my image, I have a nice rounded look, right? See that handle? Just make sure you notice that here. It's using a nice rounded look. Now, if ever my CAD file, which I'm using inside my SOLIDWORKS Composer file, had a design change. I'm back inside SOLIDWORKS right now, and what I want to do is I want to mimic a design change on the handle. So if ever that happened, we have a design change. Let's do that. I'm just going to change the configuration to mimic a design change, and then save that. Now I'll go back to Composer, and I want to update my views, right? Because those views are currently being used in a Word file. Maybe I have 100 images on a $200-page document. I don't want to have to go and reinsert all these images by one. This is where the magic happens inside of Composer. So we're going to mimic that change here inside our views. So the way Composer handles those is through the Update button. It's almost as simple as a one-click. So I'm going to click on my Update tab, and I want to update my SOLIDWORKS Composer document. So you saw how I just saved my SOLIDWORKS document that I'm using for these views. I'm just going to browse to where that document is. Here. There it is. You can see that I just saved it, right? 9:27 a.m. I'm just going to change my import options to a SOLIDWORKS document because this is a SOLIDWORKS document, and then hit the Update tab. What this is going to do is that it's going to run through each single one of my views, replacing any components that were changed, deleting any obsolete components, and so on. So after the fact, I will actually go back and re-export those images, override my Word files, and you'll see that all the images will update. You see my Word files right here. Now for the to mimic the design change, I'll have to close and reopen the file. So let me just close it and reopen after. So now I'll re-export those images. I'll just say save as. We'll save to the location where they were saved originally. Right here. I'm going to overwrite these files. Yes, I want to overwrite them. And then I'm going to go ahead and reopen that Word file. Okay, I'm just going to let it re-export the images first. As you notice here in all my views, you see that it's using that flat bar look. It's no longer that band tubing look. Okay, going back to our Word file, I'm just going to open that. Oh, I think I didn't save to the right file. Let me do that again. I wanted to say save as. There we go. I just didn't choose the right one. There we go. That would be better. There you go. So it's now using that flat bar look on those images. I just didn't overwrite the right file. So what happens, where the magic happens here is when we insert those images, I'm actually inserting and linking the images. So if we insert that view, that overhead like and battery replacement, I'm going to insert a picture, then select the image I want to insert. Let's say this one. And before I click insert, I'm actually going to say insert and link right here. So it maintains a link to the original file. Oops, I didn't insert it at the right place. Just do that again. Down here. There. Insert pictures. This one. And we'll say insert and link. There we go. And then maybe I want to wrap it around my text like this. Move it right there. And it looks really nice and crisp. So when I'm inserting these images, they're linked to their original file location. So this is where the update happens. When I re-export all my high quality illustrations from Composer, it's overriding that file. So it's going to update it anywhere that image is being used. And this is huge, right? Either for your marketing teams or sales or tech doc teams, if ever there's design changes, they don't have to worry about manually updating all these images. Composer takes care of doing all of that for them. Okay, this is just another example file that I had here open. Okay. So that was a very, very short live demonstration. Again, if you'd be interested in knowing a little bit more, maybe seeing it with your own files and seeing how it could benefit your teams, please let us know. I wrote my email at the beginning of the slides, but I will type it again in the chat box before we go. So just one last recap. How would we use this tool to compete for more business? Well, first of all, you're going to stand out of the crowd, right? So instead of having those typical pictures of your products with maybe a hand pointing to a part, you're going to have a lot more nice high quality illustrations to give to your customers. If you're doing any quotes, you can reuse, you can do them early with the existing CAD libraries that your engineers may have. There's a lot of, there's many options to work with Composer. And also, just one thing to always remind yourself of, a higher quality product will always result in your customer satisfaction increases. So technical documentation is an important part that comes with your product, right? It should be treated as such. So just a little bit about packaging. We have SOLIDWORKS Composer, which comes with a Composer player, which is free of charge. This is a utility that can be used by your shop floor, your customers or partners, or anybody who actually needs to view your products or how it's been done inside of Composer. So when you want to share those files with them, they could have Composer player maybe installed on a tablet in the shop and see your files right from there. Javelin also offers full training on the platform, and as I mentioned earlier, it is an extremely easy to use platform that will make your life so much easier. And if there's any questions, I'm going to try to, I see there's quite a few here in the questions chat box. I will attend all of them now. If I don't attend them right now, I will be emailing you back with an answer. On that note, I'd like to thank you all for being here with me this morning.